My name's Hannah. Let me take you back to where this whole mess started. I was fresh out of college, green and eager, landing a job at a tech firm that was the talk of the town. That's where I met Mike, or Michael as he was introduced, but that formality didn't stick for long. Mike and we were like oil and water from the get-go. Both of us were hungry for success, aiming to prove ourselves in this tech jungle. Our boss, Frank, a no-nonsense guy with a knack for stirring the pot, decided it would be fun to set us against each other on projects. Let's see who shines, he'd say with a smirk. One day, Frank threw a new project on our desks, a real beast of a thing that could make or break our newbie reputations. Alright, you two, this one's a game changer. Impress me, he said, leaning back in his chair like he was kicking off some gladiator match. Mike shot me a look, that annoying half-smirk on his face. May the best man win, he said, clearly amused. I rolled my eyes. It's not about being the best man, Mike. It's about being the best, period. Let's keep it professional. The competition was fierce. Nights blurred into mornings, and our workstations became our battle stations. We hardly spoke, except for the occasional barb thrown across the room. Hey, Hannah, you might want to double-check your code there. Wouldn't want to embarrass yourself, Mike would tease, leaning over my desk with that smug look plastered on his face. Oh, shut it, Mike. Worry about your own mess. I've seen cleaner code written by a fifth grader. I'd snap back, not giving him the satisfaction of seeing me flustered. But amidst the rivalry, a grudging respect formed. We were both pushing each other to be better, even if we wouldn't admit it out loud. Late one night, after everyone had left, it was just the two of us, red-eyed and weary from yet another coding marathon. Mike broke the silence first. You know, Hannah, for what it's worth, you're not half bad at this, he said, his voice softer than I'd ever heard it. I looked up, surprised by the concession. Not half bad? Wow, high praise coming from you, Mike. Might just make my day, I replied, the corners of my mouth twitching into a reluctant smile. We started talking then, really talking, not just the snide comments we were used to. Turns out, we had a lot more in common than we thought. Both of us were driven by more than just ambition, there was a passion for the work, a deep-seated need to make a mark. That night changed everything. The competition didn't end, but it shifted. We started helping each other out, sharing tips, double-checking each other's work. It wasn't long before the rest of the office took notice. Look at you two, from cutthroat competitors to tech's dynamic duo. What happened? Did you finally realize you're better together? Frank teased one afternoon, raising an eyebrow. Mike and I exchanged a look, a silent agreement passing between us. Something like that, I said, meeting Mike's gaze. There was a challenge there, but also something more. A promise of partnership, maybe even friendship. And so, our story began. Not with a fairy tale romance, but with hard work, late nights, and a shared ambition that would eventually lead us down a path neither of us could have predicted. Life with Mike hadn't been a smooth ride, we had our share of ups and downs, just like any couple. When Lily came along, though, it felt like she patched up every crack between us. Those first 2 years with her were a mix of sleepless nights and unforgettable moments. While I dove headfirst into motherhood, Mike was out there, climbing the corporate ladder, making sure we had everything we needed. It was a team effort, but a lopsided one. I was grateful for his hard work, but deep down, I was itching for more than just playdates. I loved Lily more than anything, but as she grew more independent, I started feeling stuck. The walls of our home seemed to close in on me, each day blending into the next in a blur of routine. That's when I knew I needed to get back to work, to find that part of me that got buried under piles of laundry and endless cartoons. Telling Mike about my decision sparked a bit of a standoff. You serious, Hannah? You want to go back now? Lily's just starting to get fun, he said, with a frown that told me he wasn't thrilled about the idea. Yeah, I'm dead serious, I shot back, my resolve firm. I need more than this, Mike. I need to feel like myself again, not just Lily's mom or your wife. Our conversation was tense, more of a clash of wills than a heart-to-heart. I could tell Mike was worried, maybe even a bit threatened by the thought of me stepping back into the world that he'd been conquering alone. When I came back from maternity leave, the office felt like a different planet. Mike had shot up the ranks to head of our department. The look he gave me wasn't the one I remembered. It had this edge, like he thought I'd lost my edge sitting at home with our daughter, Lily. At home, it was like stepping into a rerun of some outdated sitcom. Mike started in on how I came back too soon. Hannah, you sure you should be back at work already? Lily's still so young. Wouldn't hurt to spend more time at home, you know. I laughed it off. Mike, sitting at home was driving me up the wall. I love Lily, but I need more than baby talk and diaper changes. My brain's itching for a challenge. His mom, though, she was another story. Every chance she got, she'd drop her 2 cents. Hannah, dear, a woman's place is with her child. Mike's doing well, let him provide. You don't need to outdo your husband. It's not proper. I bit back the first 3 responses that came to mind. Thanks for the advice, but I think we can manage just fine. I'm not trying to outdo anyone, I just want to do what I'm good at. Getting back into the swing of things at work wasn't easy. It was like starting from scratch, proving I still had what it takes. But I wasn't about to let Mike, or anyone else, see me sweat. I poured everything I had into my projects, and it paid off. A year later, I was leading the department right alongside Mike. You'd think he'd be proud, but no. He got all weird about it, like my success was a personal attack. Don't you think you're being a bit ambitious, Hannah? Lily's still so young. Maybe you should have stayed home longer, he'd say, that condescending tone creeping in. I'd just shake my head and keep moving. Ambition's got nothing to do with it, Mike. I'm just doing my job, and doing it well. Shouldn't you be happy your wife's not a slouch? At home, Lily played with her toy doctor's kit, examining me or her stuffed animals with an adorable concentration. Mommy, when I grow up, I'm gonna be a doctor. Or a pharmacist, like Grandma. I smiled, ruffling her hair. You can be whatever you want, sweetheart. Doctor, pharmacist, head of a department. Sky's the limit. Those days, the tension at home was palpable. Mike's mom wouldn't let up, and Mike kept echoing her outdated beliefs. But I wasn't about to back down. I'd worked too hard to let their old-fashioned views dictate my life. The tension in the air was palpable when our boss, Frank, called Mike and me into his office. The big news? The top spot in the company was opening up, and one of us was in line for the promotion. It's between you two, he said, leaning back in his chair, his gaze shifting between us. I expect both of you to prepare your cases. May the best candidate win. Back at home, the news set off a storm. Mike's ego couldn't handle the competition. Hannah, you need to back down. It's obvious I should take this. I mean, come on, it's not just about us, it's about what's best for the family, he insisted, pacing back and forth in our living room. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Best for the family? Mike, whether you or I get the promotion, it benefits us all. Why does it matter who gets it? He stopped, turned, and looked at me like I'd grown a second head. Because I'm the man, Hannah. It's about respect. How will it look if my wife outranks me? The argument spiraled from there. Respect? So, what, my achievements don't deserve respect? Is that what you're saying? I was fuming, disbelief and anger swirling inside me. Mike's face reddened, his frustration boiling over. That's not what I meant, and you know it. It's just how things are. Men lead, Hannah. That's how it should be. I was about to retort when he stormed out, slamming the door behind him, off to find refuge with his mother, no doubt. True to form, it wasn't long before my phone rang, his mother's number flashing on the screen. Hannah, she barked the moment I answered. You listen to me. You will step down and let Mike have this. It's for the best. I held the phone away from my ear, her shrill voice filling the room. For the best? According to who? Because it sure isn't for me, or even Mike, really. This is about control for you. She spluttered, outraged. You ungrateful girl. Do you have any idea what people will say? How it will look for my son? Frankly, I don't give a damn what people will say. I shot back, my patience worn thin. This is our lives, not some gossip column. I won't step down because of outdated ideas about where a woman's place should be. The call ended with a click, her parting words a mix of threats and insults. I sat there, phone in hand, heart racing. The divide had never been clearer, but my resolve had never been stronger. Mike didn't come home that night, choosing instead to wage his battle from behind the lines, his mother's house. The next few days were a blur of silent phone calls, terse text messages, and an overwhelming sense of betrayal. How had it come to this? How had our partnership, built on mutual respect and ambition, crumbled so quickly at the prospect of a promotion? Weeks turned into a blur of exhaustion for me after Mike and I had our big fallout. It wasn't just the mental toll of our argument, my body seemed to have joined in on the rebellion. I found myself hitting the snooze button more than usual, my thoughts were scattered, and the simplest tasks at work became monumental efforts. One particularly rough day, my boss called me into his office. His usual stern facade was replaced with a look of genuine concern. Hannah, have a seat, he started, motioning to the chair across from him. I've been noticing some changes in your work lately. This isn't like you. What's going on? I took a deep breath, trying to muster the energy to explain. Frank, I've just been feeling really off these past few weeks. I'm tired all the time, and I can't seem to get my head straight. I promise, I'm trying to push through it. Frank leaned back, folding his arms across his chest. I understand we all go through rough patches, but this is concerning. Are you sure you're up to handle your projects? We can't afford slip-ups. His words stung, not because they were harsh, but because they were true. I know, and I'm sorry. I just need some time to figure this out. I'll get better, I said, though my voice lacked the certainty I hoped for. Leaving Frank's office, I felt the weight of his doubt on top of my own. It wasn't long before Mike caught wind of my troubles at work. Instead of concern, he greeted me with a barely concealed satisfaction. So, I heard you've been dropping the ball at work, he remarked over dinner, a smugness in his tone that made my blood boil. Drop the gloating, Mike. I'm going through something, and I don't need your sarcasm. I shot back, my fork clattering against my plate. Mike shrugged, his grin unfading. Maybe it's a sign, Hannah. You're pushing yourself too hard. It's not natural, you trying to outdo me. Maybe it's time to reassess your priorities. I glared at him, the urge to toss my plate at his smug face, nearly overwhelming. My health has nothing to do with outdoing you. There's something wrong, and I need to figure it out. Realizing I wasn't going to win this battle, I decided to take action on my own. I called in sick the next day, and the day after. Rest was supposed to help, but instead, I found myself spiraling further. My body felt like it was made of lead, my thoughts as if wading through fog. Lying on the couch on what was supposed to be a restful afternoon, I finally admitted to myself that this wasn't normal. I need to see a doctor, I whispered to the empty room, a mix of fear and determination settling in. Whatever was happening to me, I couldn't ignore it any longer. Mike's opinions and the troubles at work faded into the background. My health, my well-being, had to come first. The next morning brought a revelation that turned my world upside down. Lily, my sweet, innocent daughter, came to me with eyes brimming with tears. Mommy, the pills Daddy gave me to make you better aren't working, she sobbed, her tiny hands clutching something behind her back. Pills? What pills, Lily? My heart raced, a cold shiver running down my spine. The thought of Mike doing something behind my back was unsettling. Lily, hesitating at first, finally extended her hand to reveal a small bottle of pills. Daddy said these are vitamins, to make you strong and smart. I put them in your breakfast like you told me, she explained, her voice trembling. I took the bottle from her, my hands shaking as I read the label. The realization hit me like a freight train, these weren't vitamins. The pieces of the puzzle suddenly clicked into place. Mike's odd behavior, his satisfaction over my deteriorating health, it all made sense now. He was willing to go to unimaginable lengths to ensure the promotion was his by sabotaging my health. I hugged Lily tight, trying to mask the turmoil inside me. Sweetheart, you did nothing wrong. Thank you for telling me, I said, kissing the top of her head. I needed to think, to plan my next steps carefully without letting Mike know that I was onto him. With Lily's well-being in mind, I called my mother, asking her to take Lily for a few days under the guise of a spontaneous visit. Once Lily was safely out of the house, I spent hours strategizing my next move. It was clear that confronting Mike directly wasn't the best option. Not only did I need solid proof of his actions, but I also had to ensure our safety and legal standing. I scheduled a doctor's appointment to get tested for anything related to the pills. The visit was nerve-wracking, explaining the situation without revealing too much. The doctor assured me that we'd get to the bottom of it, and I left the clinic with a mix of fear and determination. Back home, I played the part of the unsuspecting wife, careful not to let on that I knew of Mike's betrayal. It was one of the hardest things I'd ever had to do, look the man I once loved in the eye, knowing he was capable of such deceit. A few tense days passed before I found myself at the doorstep of my mother-in-law's house, my heart pounding in my chest, but my resolve stronger than ever. The evidence was tucked securely in my bag, the jar of pills, the medical test results, and the most heartbreaking proof of all, the recording of Lily's innocent voice. The door swung open, and there stood my mother-in-law, her face twisting into a semblance of concern. "Oh, dear, you're looking a bit under the weather. Everything all right?" she asked, her voice dripping with feigned sweetness. I stepped inside, not missing the quick glance she exchanged with Mike, who looked like he'd seen a ghost. "Actually, no, everything is not all right," I started, my voice steady. "I've come to discuss something very important." We settled into the living room, an uncomfortable silence filling the space. I didn't waste any time. Pulling out the jar of pills, I placed it on the coffee table. "Recognize these?" I asked, locking eyes with Mike, then his mother. Their faces drained of color, the reality of the situation crashing down on them. Mike's mother was the first to break the silence, her voice rising in panic. "You can't prove anything with that. It's your word against ours." That's when I revealed the medical test results, the concrete evidence of the potent drug found in my system. "These say otherwise," I countered, the papers trembling slightly in my hand, not from fear, but from the intensity of the moment. But the final blow was the recording of Lily. Her voice filled the room, innocent and unaware of the magnitude of her words. "Daddy gave me these pills to make Mommy strong," she said, a statement that felt like a dagger to the heart of the facade my husband and his mother had tried to maintain. Mike's facade finally cracked, his eyes welling up with tears as he looked from me to his mother and back again. I'm so sorry, Hannah. I didn't think it would go this far," he stammered, the weight of his actions finally dawning on him. His mother, too, began to sob, her earlier defiance crumbling under the undeniable evidence. "Please, Hannah, we beg you, don't go to the police. We didn't mean for it to get out of hand." But my decision was made. "What you did is unforgivable. You endangered not just me, but our daughter. I'm protecting my family, and that means ensuring justice is served," I said, my voice unwavering. I stood up, gathering the evidence. I paused at the door, taking one last look at the broken figures before me. This was not just about revenge, it was about setting things right, about moral responsibility. "I'll be in touch with the authorities. You'll have to answer for what you've done," I declared before stepping out into the sunlight, a sense of closure washing over me. As I drove to my mother's house, where Lily awaited, a mix of emotions coursed through me. Sadness, relief, but above all, a fierce determination to rebuild our lives, free from deceit and manipulation. The path to justice was neither swift nor easy, but it was a path I knew I had to walk, not just for my own sake, but for Lily's and for the principle of right and wrong. The day I stepped into the police station, a mix of dread and determination churned inside me. Reporting Mike and his mother for attempted poisoning was a step that could not be undone, a line that, once crossed, would forever alter the course of our lives. The investigation that followed was thorough, with the police combing through every detail of the evidence I provided. It was an invasive process, digging up parts of my life I'd rather have kept buried. Yet, the officers were professional, treating the situation with the gravity it deserved. Throughout it all, Lily remained blissfully unaware of the storm swirling around her. To her, the visits to the station, the questions, and the serious faces were parts of a strange, grown-up game. I did my best to keep her insulated from the harsh realities, a task that grew harder with each passing day. The trial attracted attention, much more than I had anticipated. Colleagues, friends, and even mere acquaintances packed the courtroom, drawn by the sensational story of betrayal within a seemingly normal family. Whispers filled the air, speculation and shock mingling in equal measure as the details of Mike and his mother's actions came to light. I sat through the proceedings, a tumult of emotions raging within me. Anger, betrayal, but also a deep, unyielding sadness for what could have been a happy life shattered by greed and ambition. Mike and his mother, once part of my innermost circle, now sat on the opposite side of the courtroom, their fates hanging in the balance. When the verdict was delivered, a heavy silence enveloped the room. Guilty. The word echoed off the walls, a solemn affirmation of justice that provided little in the way of solace. They were sentenced to real terms, a punishment for their actions and a stark reminder of the consequences of choosing power over integrity. In addition, the court awarded monetary compensation, a hollow victory that no amount of money could make right. It wasn't about the financial gain, it was about accountability, about setting a precedent that such malicious acts could not and would not be tolerated. After the dust settled on the trial and everything that happened, I made the tough but necessary decision to divorce Mike and fought to ensure he wouldn't have the chance to hurt our daughter, Lily, or me again. The court, considering everything, sided easily with me, especially given Mike's reckless actions involving Lily in his scheme. It was a heartbreaking situation, but protecting Lily was my top priority. Mike lost his job over the scandal. The promotion he so desperately schemed for? It landed on my desk. It was a bittersweet victory. That chair felt like a throne of thorns at times, a constant reminder of the turmoil we went through to get here. Yet, it was also a testament to resilience, mine and Lily's. Life started to settle into a new rhythm. My mom was an incredible support through it all, her strength and love a steady presence in the storm. Lily, bless her heart, remained the ray of sunshine she always was, somehow untouched by the darkness of recent events. One evening, as I sat down with a cup of tea after putting Lily to bed, my mom joined me at the kitchen table. "You're doing great, Hannah. I'm so proud of you," she said, reaching over to squeeze my hand. I sighed, the weight of the past months pressing down on me. "Thanks, Mom. It's just hard, you know? I never imagined it would come to this. Winning that position, it feels like a Pyrrhic victory." Mom nodded, understanding in her eyes. "But you're moving forward, honey. And you're not alone. You've got Lily, you've got me, and it sounds like your boss and colleagues are right there with you." She was right. My boss had been incredibly supportive, and my colleagues rallied around me, offering help, understanding, and the occasional much-needed laugh. Yeah, they'd been amazing. Frank told me the other day that he admires my strength. He said the company is lucky to have me. It's just, everything has changed. Change isn't always bad, Hannah. It's just different. And sometimes, it's exactly what we need to find out what we're truly capable of, Mom advised, her voice gentle, but firm. As the days turned into weeks and months, that's what I clung to, the idea that through change, we grow, we learn, and we find new paths. My path wasn't just about climbing the corporate ladder anymore, it was about building a safe, happy life for Lily and me.